Okay, we're good.
So hi, everybody. My name's Jessica Rorson, and I'm working with the IBDS program, partnering with Sage Hill. So we have been working on these webinars, this series called BIZ Maker Series since June. And today we're going to be working with Jill Sauter, and Jill has done already a few webinars for us, and she will be again this winter in January. And so this one, I love the name, Pitch Perfect. So good. And so Jill's going to be walking us through that important piece of introducing your business and talking about your business in a pitch format that draws people in and doesn't scare them. And also just to make you sound like you know what you're talking about and, you know, show your passion, but still leaving it an open conversation for others to contribute and not just be a one-sided pitch to them that people then want to walk away from you. So Jill will talk to us, her insight as a coach about this. So thank you for tuning in today. And this is going to be our last webinar for 2020, but we have a whole host of new ones coming up starting in January, and they're actually going to be weekly for January, February, and all of March. So we look forward to having lots of people register. So I'll pass it on to Sherilyn.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sherilyn Walters. I'm the consultant for IBDS and in partnership with Sage Hill. So if you have any questions at all about your business or you need some information, then I'm the one that you target. Our services are at no cost to Indigenous people. And if you happen to not be Indigenous, but you participated in these workshops, I can still help you. So keep that in mind. And I guess that's it. We've had a fairly successful first run at these videos and workshops. And so we're really looking forward to continue to build on them. If you haven't been given our YouTube link, please make sure that you contact Jessica for it. And then you can go back and re-look at some of the videos that you might have lost or missed and gather that information. All right, Jenny, it's you.
Hi, I'm Jenny Glessman, and I'm with the Sage Hill Community Futures office. We work with Sherilyn and with Jessica for the IBDS. I'm kind of the one behind the screen making sure technical stuff doesn't happen. So with that, thanks for joining us. And we'll go around the room. Tell us about where you're from, what your business is, just to give Jill a feel of what everybody's up to. So we'll start with Kayla. Or Kyla. Kyla,
sorry.
right?
Yes.
Right.
I have a bunch of teacher cups I have to get done for Friday since they're switching schools to e-learning next week.
Oh,
so
no.
Don't mind me. I'm going to be listening, but I'm also going to be working. But I'm from Regina, and my name is Kyla, and I'm attempting to start my own custom tumbler business. So this is one of my teacher cups that I've designed. There's this one. This one's from my son's teacher. His favorite color is purple. So, and then I make Christmas ornaments this year as well. Personalize them. And I've done a few wooden signs so far.
Good.
So, yeah,
Thanks, Kyla.
a little bit about me.
Great, thank you. And we'll go to Phil.
Phil Bertrand, St. Bruce, Saskatchewan. I'm the owner of RoboArc. I started the company for robotic and automation consulting. Started with a small partnership with somebody who we put a robot in Prince Albert for material handling.
That's really cool, Phil.
Yes, great. So now we'll turn it over to Jill, and she's going to lead us through the perfect pitch.
All right. So I better give mine, hey?
No pressure.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jill Sauter, and I'm a marketing consultant based out of Saskatoon. I help small and medium-sized businesses increase their revenue and profitability through marketing. So we're done. I'm just kidding. I love the variety in your businesses, Phil and Kyla, and hopefully some other people will join. I love marketing. This is just a warning here, and I love helping businesses with marketing. So if I'm rambling on and you have a question, please wave and let me know, because I'd love to hear your questions. Since there's only 2 of you right now, I'm happy to answer specific questions that you might have. So please feel free to stop me. I'm happy to chat. I was really excited when Jessica talked to me about this, because I think that pitches not only are important for what they are, how you portray your business, but also the thought and the information that goes into this, into creating a pitch, is really answering a lot of questions about your business that need to be answered. So to me, some of those are really fundamental marketing questions that can help you with other aspects of your business. And I know that when you're an entrepreneur, you're wearing lots of hats, and sometimes marketing hat is confusing and difficult, and so it doesn't go on as much as other hats. So I like to make marketing really simple and multi-purpose for the businesses that I work with. So hopefully the idea of creating a pitch can help you in some other aspects of your business as well. So I was also excited about this because I had an experience. One person that I went to an event back in the old days when we could go to events, and it was a brand new entrepreneurs were talking to business people, and one of those people in the room happened to be the mayor. And the mayor came up to this one entrepreneur, and the mayor had his back to me, and I could see the entrepreneur had his back to me, and I could see the mayor's face. And the mayor said to this entrepreneur, "What do you do?" And this guy, the entrepreneur, started talking about the technology that he was creating, and it was very interesting and very important technology. And the mayor kept going, and this went on for almost 10 minutes. And if you've ever seen a mayor at an event, they never really stand still for 10 minutes. They're kind of working the room. And this poor guy, I think that the mayor sort of broke off the communication because he just didn't have time to stand around until this guy finished his pitch. And I'm not sure that at the end of it, the mayor actually really knew what this person was doing. And it's interesting. The other day, I also heard someone say, "You're not telling people about what you make, you're telling people about what it does." And that's a really important distinction in the pitch, because in that example with the mayor, the person with this technology was talking about the technology and all the things that it does, but they weren't talking about what's the end result of that, or what does that thing do for customers and users. And I think that's where a lot of pitches miss the mark, is that they talk about the thing that is. And I've worked with lots of engineers and startups in the tech industry, and they're a little bit notorious for that, because they love what they've created, and they love this thing that it is, whether it's an app or a piece of technology, or in your case, Phil, with the robotics. They're amazing things, and it's so exciting when somebody says, "So what do you do?" Because it's like talking about your firstborn child. It's wonderful. You know, I have pictures. So we want to focus this more on what the thing does, or what, if it's a service, what you can provide to your customers. So I've got a couple of examples that I wanted to share with you, just to show you some pitches. Oh shoot, I missed a page. So some of the things that we're going to talk about in a good pitch are these things: the problems that you solve. Again, what does this thing do for me, as opposed to what is it? For whom? And I was doing a session last week, and one of the participants said, "Well, everybody can use my technology." And that may seem true, but this guy sold network security. And I'm pretty sure my parents, who live in a aluminum sided house where you can't get any internet signal, and they just got Wi-Fi last week, they're both in their 70s. They do not need internet network security. I know for a fact they don't need it. So when somebody says, who is this for? You have to be more specific than that. And in some cases, for some businesses, like both Kyla or Phil, you may have different types of customers. Like Kyla, you may have someone who buys a big order of your products, like maybe a hockey team for their coach's gift, or maybe it's individuals, so it's a parent buying a one-off gift for a teacher or a friend. Same with you, Phil. You might have different types of industries that your robotics can be used in. And this pitch may be different for each of those audiences because the value that your customers derive from your product or service may be different. And so you may have to sort of create a couple of different pitches depending on who you're talking to. There's also that question how, and it's a little tiny question, but the answer can be very, very long. And what I challenge most people with is trying to take a complex thing, like maybe Phil with yours, maybe we're talking about safety issues, or like you said, materials handling, maybe it's efficiency, all of those things. How can we get that down into a couple of sentences at most that can explain what you do? Or sorry, how your products operate. And then the big piece de resistance is at the end. What's the benefit to customers? And this is really an opportunity to put yourself into someone else's shoes and think about, what do they get out of working with me? So lots of this, a pitch should be maybe 2 sentences. But when you think about the answers to these 4 questions, it could be paragraphs and paragraphs, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking to be very succinct, very specific, especially about the audience, and then take that opportunity to put yourself in the shoes of your customer and really talk about what is in it for them. And we'll talk about each of these questions in a little bit more detail, but I noticed that we had a couple more people join us. Maybe we could have you tell us your name and where you're from and what your business is about. I think there was Kate.
Kate, yeah. Are you
Kate,
there,
Mike?
Kate? Oh, there's
Hi,
Kate.
yeah. Sorry, I joined late. I couldn't find the link to join. Thanks for whoever sent it. I do appreciate it. I was able to just click and go. My name is Kate Morris, and I'm based out of Regina, but I have traveled across the northern US states and Western Canada to do financial literacy workshops. So my business is Scout Financial Solutions, and I haven't really pitched it to anyone, to be honest. Like I'm quite wordy, as you can tell now. It's my intro. So I love sharing. So I've got to make sure that I'm very precise and concise in what I'm doing. So thanks for this opportunity to participate.
Great, thank you, Kate. And did we have another person?
Yes,
join?
there was. It was Ina, but I'm not sure her square is empty now. So we'll just see if she comes back.
No worries.
Okay.
All right. Let's just look at a couple of examples here. I wanted to show you a couple that really stood out for me, and we can examine these differently. This example is, I picked it specifically because it's one that we all know, but they kind of offer 2 different things, one to consumers and one to businesses. And they've tailored their messaging so that they can talk about what they do for their business customers, as well as what they do for their consumer customers. So Airbnb, everybody knows what Airbnb is. It's an online marketplace to discover, book rental homes, apartments, and rooms. Pretty simple. And that sort of talks about what do they do. And then they have these sort of add-on lines that they use as well. Again, tailored to those different markets. So for travelers or consumers, they would add on, settle somewhere new, discover new nearby stays to live, work, or just relax. The funny thing is they've changed this one because of the lack of travel, first of all, but they've also found new opportunities. And I noticed VRBO, which is a competitor, they're also doing lots to try and attract people who maybe the parents are working remotely and the kids are on online school. And so, hey, if you're all in your bubble, why not go to Maui or PA, Waskesiu, or North Dakota? And so they're, well, maybe not North Dakota, they're having a rough time down there. But I think that it's interesting that they've changed their messaging to talk about discover a nearby stay to work or just relax. And so they've really changed that quite a bit to accommodate that. But I also want to draw your attention to their host messaging. Join a vibrant community. Now, Join a vibrant community to create memorable experiences for travelers, earn money for the things you love. And that's very different from what they talk about with travelers, because the benefit in the end may be creating memorable experiences for travelers, but the earn money to do the things you love, that to me really conveys the benefit, because in the end, people want to share maybe their vacation home or their second home or their unique home in a unique location. But really it's about earning the money, but it's not about being predatory and saying, hey, you can, take advantage of travelers or something like that. It's do the things that you love. And that really puts that, it frames up why we're doing this. The other thing that I thought was interesting was it doesn't talk about what the site does. It talks about joining the community, creating the memorable experience for travelers. And I wouldn't have thought that that's what somebody would get from Airbnb as somebody renting my property. But maybe it's important for those people to find that community of people who are maybe they love to travel and they just want to share that experience with other people. Maybe they are like a B&B, and for years, poor bed and breakfast owners, they were very isolated in the communities where they were. Now this is a wonderful network with tools that make it easy, like a website presence and advertising through Airbnb. But it really creates a community that connects them, and they can maybe talk about best practices, and maybe there's training for hosts or something like that. I don't know what our Airbnb offers, but I think it's interesting that that's the thing that they talk about, not the online platform, which is really what their thing is. So I thought that was kind of interesting to look at. So now let's dig into a little bit more about those 4 elements in the pitch. I think it's important to, like I said, there's those extra things outside of the pitch that come from creating a pitch. And for me, one of the biggest ones is a focus on customers. There's that question, for whom do you do what you do? And to me, that's one of the most important things, is to understand who your customers are. And back to that example of the person who said that everybody could use his network security solutions. Like, I'm the IT person in my house, and I am struggling with Outlook, and my kid wants Netflix, but I need the parental controls on it, and my printer doesn't always work, and it's networked. I don't need network security. I'm not the target market. And for this guy, he's been struggling with marketing. He actually came to one of my sessions years ago, so I knew this guy by name. And like, Brian, what you're doing isn't working. You're trying to market to everyone for every need they might ever have. And this doesn't allow you to do good marketing. When we focus on customers and really talk specifically to people, we can catch their attention with something that appeals to them. And I think that's one of the biggest things about creating a pitch, is that we start to look specifically at a target group of customers and understand what motivates them to buy, what their problems are, and what benefits they see in whatever it is that you're selling. Identifying the value, again, being able to really pinpoint and articulate what is it that's in it for them. If they shell out their hard-earned money to you, what are they getting back in return? Articulate
So
the benefit.
Jill,
Yes,
can I interrupt for just a second?
absolutely, yes.
Okay, and Phil, I'm going to pull you in on this one. So, so in Phil's particular robotics that he does, would you just tell in your own words what it actually did for this company, so that Jill can take a look at how she can pull out the benefits that you could then use in your next pitch?
Well, for that one robot, I guess the safety aspect of, they had a high turnover rate because they're schlepping these 40-pound bags at 2,500 bags a day. They had a high turnover rate of manpower, cold environment, different things like that. So having to lift 40-pound bags, so there was definitely the benefit of safety. The other thing it offered, it did offer them to reallocate their manpower resources to do other things. So while this thing is stacking things for them, they can be wrapping the other bags or keep feeding the machines and things like that. So
That's amazing, Phil. I think the first thing I think of is how much does it cost? How much does turnover cost them? Like, how much does it cost them to hire new people? I'm not a workers' compensation expert, but I would think that if there's repetitive stress injury from lifting something heavy in the cold, I would think that there is a cost to that, to have a person on compensation. And then if they have turnover, having to hire someone new and train them, there is definitely a cost to that. And so, yes, there's a safety factor to it, but you're also saving them some time, energy, and money in eliminating the need to hire again and again for that position that probably nobody likes, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so when I think of benefits, to me, it's saving time and money and increasing on-site safety.
Now, just out of curiosity, did you use any of those terms when you were trying to sell this robot to that company?
Being as that it was our first go at it.
I know, that's why I'm pulling on you.
The other problem is a lot of those things, the incidentals are hard to, you can put it in a pitch. We never really did, but it was understood that, they had this issue. So they approached us with that issue rather than the other way around, rather than saying, hey, this is what I can do for you, because we don't know necessarily when we go into a company that they are having a higher turnover rate or things like that. We did identify, hey, this will be safer. These guys will be able to do more work. You can maybe move them around some. So yeah, we didn't actually use it in our pitch directly. It was more what they were bringing to us as the issues they are seeing, because some of those things are actually intangibles. Like, how much does it cost to retrain somebody? How much is the benefit to the customer for improved safety?
And Phil, those are great questions. I would think that in a pitch, you don't necessarily have to get into the dollars and cents of it, but there's definitely, I think that there's numbers out there for what it would cost to hire. Like, even how much does it cost to have somebody down? What's the workers' compensation premium on that? Does that affect their premiums for all of their positions? You could find those numbers for a pitch. You don't necessarily have to get into those numbers. As soon as you tell somebody you can save them money and reduce turnover. Bing. Oh my God, sorry, that's my phone. As soon as you say those two things, then people get interested, and then that's when you can expand on that and give them more detail. But you can definitely pique their interest in a pitch or an ad or at a show with those claims. And I think that you'd be very justified in being able to say that. And with a little bit of investigation, you could find out how much it costs for sure. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, not apology, not accepted. That's a perfect question. Does that help, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. I think the other thing, like for us, creating this pitch and answering some of those questions can lead to other marketing. Like I just said, for Phil, when you sort of understand what that value is, you can use that information in an advertisement or in an email that you send out to a potential customer. You can use this information for other marketing that you might do. But as for customers or potential customers, I think that, you know, we're all experts in marketing because we're marketed to all the time. When you think about what it takes for somebody to catch your attention, that's what you're fighting against as well. So, Kyla, your creations are amazing. They're gorgeous. And I'm sure that they look amazing on Instagram because they would stand out. They're lovely. But how many other things are there on Instagram that look just the same? And cutting through that clutter is really important. The why should I pay attention to you? To me, that's really that hook that gets people interested. And like I said to Phil earlier, that's what helps you to become sort of top of mind, or it helps you to cut through the attention deficit that we all have because we scroll and we click and do all those wonderful things. The other thing, Kyla, that I was thinking of was there's a lady in Saskatoon here and she makes kilts. She's known as the Kilt Lady, which might sound like it's not all that exciting and it's not very different, but what it's really interesting because that's how she has become known for her craft. And it's really made her stand out. And I think that it's interesting whether you use your own name like I do in my business, you can see in the bottom corner here, or whether you create a company name, starting to create that association between what you make and what benefits there are to your products and associating with your name. That's what the pitch can help you do. And yeah, cutting through that clutter and the what's in it for me. The what's in it for me is a huge one. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but remind me to talk about language, okay? If I don't talk about it, how are we doing for time?
Jill, we just maybe will introduce Mary Campbell, who joined us.
Perfect.
Mary, you want to just introduce us? Tell us who you are, where you're from. Oh, she's saying hello.
That's okay.
What kind of business do you have?
All right. Maybe
she doesn't have a mic. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
But maybe Jenny could introduce her later. So Jenny must know her.
Okay. Another example here that we all might know is skip the dishes. So
sorry, I should unmic. Sorry, I was muted. I didn't realize. I'll just quickly tell you about Mary. Mary's our board member. She has a greenhouse, and it's a little bit different. Is that it has the fish, and they use the stuff from the fish to grow the different greens that they grow, and then they sell them all over, like in the different grocery stores and stuff. So I know she would be able to give a way better pitch than I can, but I think they're one of the only ones in Saskatchewan that do it the way they are. So that's a little bit about Mary.
Where are they located?
Anaheim, just outside of not far out of Humboldt.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, good. Thank you, Mary. You're acknowledged. And I loved your business, by the way. So I just wanted to again show you that difference between consumer pitch and a business pitch. With Skip the Dishes, they market to consumers because they want people to use their app to order food, but then they also have to market to businesses to help them become members and suppliers through their platform. So the pitch to consumers is very basic. You deserve great delivery. And to me, the simplicity of this implies that maybe the delivery experiences through that people have received from other suppliers haven't been that great. And so I find this interesting to think about this whole you deserve great delivery. I know my kids love the app. Oh, our food's almost here. Our food's almost here. But they're all hangry people. So I don't know if everybody gets that excited. But I really love what they talk about when they talk to the restaurants. Reach more customers, access a new revenue stream, and maximize your kitchen's capacity with Canada's leading food delivery network. Very specific. And again, it's not about what the thing is. Like, they don't talk about the nuts and bolts of their app. They talk about what's in it for the restaurants. And they've also focused on the things that restaurants maybe struggle to be able to provide on their own. So I thought that was really interesting how they differentiate. I mentioned about the problem solved, and I think that in this pitch, they really hone in on those problems that a restaurateur might be feeling, especially when you say new revenue stream in this marketplace. I think that is a critical thing that most restaurants are looking at. And if somebody came in and said, I can help you with that revenue problem that you have, okay, that's wonderful. Let's talk about this. Kate, you probably have this kind of dual market as well, whether it's you're connecting with consumers who might attend an online course or might attend one of your courses set up by someone else. But then you might be also marketing to organizations or groups that may need your services or think that their membership would need your services. So I think this is a good example of that dual pitch being necessary. Does that hit home a little bit?
Hi. I guess primarily you're partially correct there. My clients are normally decision makers for organizations and institutions and entities, not necessarily the individual themselves. Okay. Quite honestly, I don't market. I'm really bad at marketing. It's kind of word of mouth. Once in a while, I luck out and get to meet wonderful people who see the vision, but I really don't market, and I don't pitch it.
Okay.
But you are going to, right?
She muted. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, I just had to pull a grocery bag away from the puppy. He's in the office with me, but yes. That's my intent. That's why I'm here, because I want to be able to pick up something and start saying I really want to add value to the message.
Great. Okay.
Thanks.
I think that this whole idea of solving a problem is really important. Phil, we talked a little bit about your business solving a problem. I think that it's important to look at those problems as being, they have to be big enough. Like if you want to solve a problem for someone, I'm trying to think of an example. Well, one of them is banks. We've all had something go wrong at the bank. Is it enough to make us change all of our credit cards and all of our checking accounts and all of our direct people who we're paying bills directly from? Do you want to learn a new website to do your online banking? Most people, that's not a big enough problem to make them switch, because it's a huge hassle to switch. So it has to be a big pain. It has to be something that makes a difference. And Phil, like, to me, safety issues and saving, anytime you can save somebody money, that's a big deal. But safety issues are a close second, because so many businesses are recognizing the liability that they have when people are put into they have to do a job that requires them to be in a potentially unsafe situation. And eventually, if you ask why enough times, it comes down to the dollars and cents for some. But for a lot of businesses, they care about the people that they work with, and they do want them to be safe. So I think that the safety issue is a big issue. And is it painful? Again, if you're hiring people all the time, that can be a pain. And depending on who you talk to in the organization, that may be a huge pain for the person who does it, along with other responsibilities that they have. But if that company has an HR manager, maybe it's not a big enough pain for that person. Yeah, I need somebody else. Go back to the employee tree, and the HR manager will pick somebody off of it. So maybe it's not that big of a pain. Sometimes people don't recognize that they have a need. I was working, I told you about the guy with the network security, and most of us don't really care about our network security until it's breached somehow, and then it becomes a big problem. So if people if they've never had that happen, we're not usually in the market for security solutions. So that was one thing that I talked with him about. And speaking their language, I think that's important. I know I do a lot of work in agriculture, and if you, was doing a few videos, and somebody said Saskatchewan. As soon as you say something like that, people go, "Oh, this company doesn't know how to say Saskatchewan, so they're not in my area. They don't know me. They don't know my business," and then our ears just shut, right? And especially like, Phil, I'm just going to use you as an example. Say in 2 years, you're in a number of different industries, say construction and industrial manufacturing, and maybe parcel delivery or courier services. Those are very different businesses. And if you're not speaking the language of those businesses in that industry, they may just shut down. And this is one of the problems that I see with a lot of marketing for small businesses. They would try to speak to the industrial manufacturing and the transportation and the mining industry, all with the same message. And that doesn't work. These days, in order to cut through the clutter and make us pay attention, you need to speak our language. So it's important to be able to have a different pitch for each of those markets, so that you can talk about the things that are important to them. Does that make sense? Yeah. I know you're going to speak English most times, but speaking the language of the industry or of that type of business is very important. It helps to get the point home. All right. And the people with a problem, I think, especially with businesses like yours, Phil, and maybe yours, Kate, to an extent, you might find that initially there are some customers who just they look at what you're doing and say, yes, I totally get that. I need that. Fix me up here. How do I write you a check? And that's great. But as your customer base grows and grows, what you're going to find is that there are some people who are looking for a specific solution. And they're maybe one group of customers. You might find that there's another group of customers who are looking for something different. And sort of grouping those people together might help you to be more specific with your marketing. And the more specific you are, the more likely you're going to hit to the heart of the problem. An example like this, Kate, I'll use your business as an example in this one. Maybe you do one sort of message or one sort of workshop for teens and young adults, and maybe you do a different one for people in the workplace. I know a friend of mine, she has a manufacturing business, very small, but quite successful. And she wanted to open up their books so that the employees could know what the profitability of the business was. And before she did that, though, she wanted to do some training on what is an income statement, what is a balance sheet, how do we read this, how do we judge the health of the company, so that when she did open the books, then people had some kind of a roadmap there so that they could understand what to look for and what these pieces of paper were telling them. And so that would be a very different financial literacy message than one that you would give to young people who were just starting to use credit cards and just starting to understand that like my 12-year-old, he's figured out that when you put the card in the bank machine, it's attached to your account and you get money out only until the money runs out in your account. Those are very different conversations. And some of those people are more ready, are looking for that solution more so than other people. Like my teens, they're not really looking for financial literacy, but maybe their teachers are, or maybe their parents are, and maybe that's who you reach out to. All right. How you can help. I think this is interesting because how do you help people is a tough question if you've only looked at what you do. If you, again, put yourself in the shoes of that customer and start asking the question, what does my customer get from this? I think you get a different set of words that describe what it is your product or service can do. And what you really want to focus on is what makes you different. And I think, how far back is it? This message from Skip the Dishes to restaurant owners: reach more customers, new revenue streams, maximize your kitchen's capacity. Those are all really interesting things that may be different from other platforms that just say, do you want to be able to do an online order? Here, take this, and join our website. It's very different. These are very specific problems that restaurant owners might have that Skip the Dishes is trying to address. So they're trying to be different than others by talking about those benefits. Your solution has to work. It has to actually deliver on what you're promising. It has to be lasting. It has to be something that's durable and isn't just sort of a fleeting side effect, because those ones are really hard to quantify. And I think that it's important to think about what's lasting. The other thing is the ease with which your solution can be implemented. Like Phil, for you, if you just take a unit and put it into a place and somebody uses a remote control to basically do what the employee did, that's pretty easy to implement. But if you require a certain sort of Wi-Fi signal, and there has to be somebody in a hub in a different room that's doing something different, or if it can be programmed, but it has to use a specific platform that nobody knows and isn't familiar, that makes it really difficult for people to say, is this going to benefit me enough that I want to switch? Because we're very much creatures of habit and we don't like change. So if you're going to ask me to change, I better see something really, really amazing about that change that you're forcing me into before I'll make that change. So that's just something to consider if you think about how people do things. All right. And the last thing, the benefits to the customer. This is that fourth element. We've talked a little bit about it already, but again, we're looking here for not what your thing is, not the features of it, but what it does. Yeah, and I said how it makes their life better, but maybe that life, if you're selling to businesses or organizations, maybe you're not talking about their life. People have made it so that dish soap can transform us by smelling like a tropical vacation, and that makes our life better because I can afford $3.98 dish soap and not necessarily a $4,000 trip. So with businesses, when you're selling to businesses, that's a little bit different. Then you have to get into how does it make the business better? Can you increase revenue? Can you cut costs? Can you increase safety? Can you increase productivity? Can you save somebody time? Can you reduce turnover? Those are all really big things that are important to businesses. So anytime you can key in on one of those, that can be really helpful.
What about when you're talking, sorry,
No, go ahead.
you're talking about makes their life better. I mean, all those things that you just listed would reduce that person's stress level to probably next to zero. That's how my life is better, right? Because you helped me implement all these things and now I'm functioning effectively and efficiently. And so I'm not stressed about how I'm going to pay my next bill.
Yeah. You know, the one example though, Cheryl, that might hit home is a client of mine, they had a product, a software system that could make people more productive. So it was a software system that would manage how long do we need this rental piece of equipment to dig a trench? Because if we only need it for these 3 days, let's only get it for these 3 days instead of renting it now. And then maybe sometime in the next 2 weeks, we'll need that piece of equipment. So it really spoke to productivity and profitability. The only problem was the people that he was talking to were the users. So they were the people who would have to enter all the data about a project to know whether or not they needed that backhoe for 3 days or 2 weeks. And those people weren't the owners of the company, and they were not concerned about the profitability. And
Sure.
and that's and this guy beat his head against a brick wall for a long time thinking, why don't these people want to be more profitable? And the challenge was that those people, it didn't affect their employment, whether the company was profitable or not. Like down the road, if you think down the road, you'd think if the company's not profitable, I'm going to be out of a job. But in the moment, these people didn't think that far ahead. And so it was really challenging for him because he saw that he could affect profitability and productivity, but he wasn't getting that response that he was looking for because profitability wasn't important to those people who he was talking to. So then he found that he had to make his way up the company ladder to find the person who really, it made a difference to their life, whether or not the company was profitable.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I hear what you're saying. Absolutely. This is an example of a pitch to entertain, inform, inspire people around the globe through the power of unparalleled storytelling, reflecting the iconic brands, creative minds, and innovative technologies that make ours the world's premier entertainment company. Do you know who this is? Any guesses? I'll
Apple.
tell you. What's that?
Warner
Apple.
Brothers.
No. Disney.
Disney.
And you think about this, like, do you think, like most of us think of Disney as princesses and theme parks, but when you think about, if you get the Disney Plus network, I'd encourage you to look around on there. And if you ever get the chance to do training through Disney, go do it. It's amazing. But they're a very innovative company and very technology driven. And the Disney Plus network has amazing documentaries about their creativity and their innovation. Just mind blowing, some of the things that they do. And yes, it comes out in the form of a ride at a Disney park or some new technology to make animation or movies or production better. But really, really amazing brand and quite an amazing company. But I just thought this was interesting because it doesn't talk about princesses or theme parks. So something to consider. Here's an example from a local business. This is a Saskatchewan business. At Redhead Equipment, we provide our customers with more than just heavy equipment. We provide them with a team that is willing to do whatever it takes to keep them productive. It doesn't mention, it says heavy equipment in there. So granted, there's that, but they say that they're more than that. And they talk about the intangibles that customers can really understand because they know what downtime means to them. And if somebody's willing to do whatever it takes to keep them up and running, that's a partner I want to work with. So I thought it was a really good example. Here's another example of a pitch. This is from a restaurant group in Saskatoon, built on the foundation of introducing quality, sustainable, diverse, and best-in-class dining experiences to Saskatchewan. Really focuses on the things, those words, quality, sustainability, diversity, and best-in-class dining experience. Those are things that people are looking for. And I thought it was interesting that they have all these different brands, but they kind of lump them together in their restaurant group to really give an idea of what they're offering to customers. Here's another one, and this is one close to my heart because I wrote it myself. So I'll show you what this one is. This is a group called Fireweed Artisan Boxes. Provides a distribution channel for goods produced by young Indigenous artisans and entrepreneurs in Canada. That's the main thrust of the business. But right now we're working with student businesses in schools that are part of the Saskatoon Tribal Council. And they have business clubs. So we're selling their goods because they usually sell them at trade shows and conferences, and that isn't happening right now. So we wanted to give them another way to sell, but then we also want to keep it open enough that down the road, maybe we can sell for other people. So I think there's some value in that. So we definitely focused on who this was for and the distribution channel. But we wanted to talk about what was in it for the customers. All right. So the other thing is, I mentioned earlier on that I know that entrepreneurs wear a lot of hats. And I think it's important for when you create something like this, when you take the time to sit down and think about the answers to these questions, that this has to provide some double duty somewhere else. And I really think that the pitch is a great starting point for other marketing that you might do. In specific, I think that the pitch is critical to developing a good website. A lot of the questions that you would have to answer if somebody was doing your website for you, a lot of those questions would have to be answered by the questions that I posed to you when we talked about this pitch. What do you do? For whom? What are the benefits they derive? And those questions, the answers to those questions are really important for your website as well. Landing pages, if you're doing some kind of a campaign, it's good to know what that pitch is. Your social media presence or your digital presence on the whole, I think is important to understand who you're speaking to and what benefits you want to convey so that you can speak in the language and speak to the benefits that appeal to your target market. If you are going to do some campaign, whether I work with a company that does mold remediation, or sorry, asbestos and mold remediation. And we're doing a campaign right now where they're contacting rural municipalities, because rural municipalities have lots of buildings, and anything that's built more than 20 years ago will probably have asbestos in it. And those are supposed to be registered with the provincial asbestos registry. So, but the fact that he had a campaign, a pitch ready to go, he handed that to me and says, this is what I say when I'm at conferences, but there's no conferences to go to. And I said, okay, well, we'll do an email campaign. And we've got an email campaign ready to go. And it all started with that pitch and what he says when he goes and talks to people. So it was as a service provider, it was really helpful for me to get that information really succinctly, and he had it ready to go. So took a lot less money and time to get that campaign up and running. And I say sales training here. I don't know if you have a salesperson or not, but in some cases where you're hiring someone, whether that's a social media expert, a website designer, or somebody new to your company, if you can tell them very succinctly what it is that you do and you give them those words, those are the words that they'll use. They'll use them when they're answering the phone. They'll use them when they're talking to friends and family. And that makes a real difference. If you can provide them with those words instead of going, well, you know, we kind of do this, and it's, you know, 20 minutes later, you've told them what they do. People aren't going to remember that. And that's not what they're going to tell to family and friends, to people that they meet who might need their services in a networking setting, when we can do that again. So I think it's important for you as your company grows to be able to be that succinct. And this will change over time. Like I said, you might have one market right now, but you might end up with 3 in a year or so. So you might have a different pitch for different markets, and that's okay. Just taking the time to do it is important. All right. So I know that it's hard to just start this and put down everything else that you have to do in your business and start doing this. Some of these questions are what I call windshield time questions. So if you're driving from place to place, or you're have some downtime and you just have a few minutes, maybe you keep these questions handy. I should go back to the beginning where those questions are. Maybe you just keep them handy and you take some notes. Maybe you go back to your website with these questions and say, okay, am I really answering these questions in my website or on my social media presence? You don't have to stop everything you're doing to do this. I think that this is something that will evolve over time. And you don't get the right words this first time anyway. So give it some time to sit, and you can sit with the answers that you come up with and see what works for you. Wow, I've talked a lot and we're at an hour here. Any questions or thoughts? Anything that you heard that you think can apply to your business?
And if anybody wants, the chat is open. We can also type in the chat.
Okay. Phil, did I give you some things to think about today?
Yeah, it's all sinking in. I guess one of the things, or the aspects I have, is when you're going in for consulting, right? It's the elements of this pitch kind of help you to introduce yourself too. But at the same token, and I'm kind of thinking how this is going to work out. When you say you have to target it to your different customers. So whether I'm going into an ag customer who needs help with welding, or somebody who needs help with more material handling and heavier things or whatnot. And I also have like maintenance type services where they call me to help troubleshoot different issues. It's almost like there's going to be multiple pitches, and the only question, or the only thing I need to understand, I guess, or I have to differentiate, is whether it's on the website and it's okay for ag, you click here and this is going to be the pitch for that sector of customers. And then if you're more into material handling, then it's this sector of customers. But at the same time, going in cold calls and introducing yourself, having these kinds of questions targeted to those specific industries it makes it, you feel a little more prepared talking about it, rather than, oh yeah, I can get you robots and all this kind of thing.
Right. And I think that there's what you might find is that there's more, instead of vertical by industry type, I think that there's maybe some more similarity. My husband worked in operations in some big plants in the grain handling industry and in manufacturing. And there's some issues that run across all of those. Yeah. That it's more of a functional problem that you're solving, or that you're investigating for them. So maybe it's safety of materials handling. Maybe it's employee repetitive stress injuries, or I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think you get where I'm going to. So, but those cut across mining, agriculture, so it may not be an industry specific thing. It may be a functional thing in an industrial environment.
Right.
Yeah. Kate, any thoughts from you? The dog ate the microphone.
She's got a new
Sorry.
puppy.
Sorry. Yeah, I've got a new, he's cute. He's real cute. No, I picked up a lot of good, like, interesting little tips. I made a few notes on things that I just think that, honestly, I think I just have to be more present and more in tune with the fact that I do need to do some work on that. I really liked the, are they called mission statements, or your, like, the statements that you made for some of the companies?
Yeah.
I thought that was really exactly what I need, is just something that's precise like that.
Yeah, and you can go online and find organizations that are similar to yours, but maybe operate in a different area of North America, and they might have something like this. You may want to look at other consulting practices, or people who do training, and see what theirs look like. That may help you, give you some ideas or some inspirations.
Yeah.
The
One of
other
the things I kind of thought is that I almost feel like I have to maybe create two. One that would hit individuals in the right place, and then again, one that would be able to be impactful with the agencies and institutions and organizations.
Yeah.
So,
And one of the things that might help you is when you do the training, to get a review from the people who participate, as well as the people that you worked with. Because what you'll find is that the people who are in the workshop may derive different benefits than the person who set the workshop up in the first place.
yeah. Okay.
And the language that they use is really important. Like, what you might find is that somebody will say something like, sorry, I know we're over time, so if you have to go, but what somebody might say is, I really learned how my feelings affect my ability to use money correctly. That's just this is just me thinking off the top of my head. But when somebody says that, then that's a problem that you can solve. We make the connection between emotions and spending. And so when somebody says something like that in a feedback form at the end of a workshop, that's the language and the problem that they have, that you can really use as maybe testimonial, or put that into your pitch somewhere.
Okay. Yep. Thank you so much for, yeah, it does. It makes sense. Thanks for the tips.
Hey, no problem. Good. Anything to close, ladies?
No, is anybody, if nobody has any other questions, we have been recording today. We can send out the handouts if that's okay with Jill, so that everybody can have a copy of them. Plus, the recording will be put up on our YouTube video, and Jessica usually sends out the link to that. So if you were maybe a little bit later joining because you couldn't find the link, it'll be there so that you can re-watch it, and you'll have the slides, so that then that way, if you've got any questions, hopefully they're answered from there as well.
Good.
Perfect.
If there's no questions, then I'll just thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. And thanks, Jill. And we look forward to having you in the new year. And I guess from us, it's Merry Christmas, everyone. Because we're not back until, I think, January 5th.
Yeah.
So stay safe out there, everyone. We're not through
Yes.
this yet.
Exactly. That's our main thing. Everyone stay safe, and we'll see everybody in the new year.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.